So the first topic is mutability and immutability. It is very interesting and very important to understand. If you want to become a JavaScript developer, you need to understand these kind of topics, because when you understand these concepts, you can write an efficient code. So first, let us see the meaning of these words. Mutability and immutability are opposite words. Then what is mutability? Mutability means ability to change value is called as mutability. Immutability means automatically which cannot be allowed to change the value, that is immutability. So how we are going to these things are important in JavaScript. Let us see. When you declare a primitives, all primitives are immutable. In JavaScript, all primitives are immutable. So what does it mean? Whenever you declare a variable, you cannot modify the value of the variable for any primitive. So we know numbers, strings, booleans, these are the primitives which we can use very extensively in our application. Whenever you declare any primitive, you cannot modify that. So when you listen to this for first time, it might be a little bit surprising to you, but I will prove it practically how the primitives behave with immutable nature. So now let us see here. If we take any primitives, so in this example, I have taken only number. So the same story will be applied for the numbers, strings, booleans, and for all other primitives. Okay, so primitives are immutable. What does it mean? When we create a primitive, we cannot change the value. We cannot change the value. That's the meaning of this statement. Let us see practically how to understand this statement. Let us see, I have created a variable, let data is equal to 10. It is a primitive. Data is the variable, 10 is the primitive value. Okay, fine. So when this statement is executed, we know how it stores in the memory. So some space will be occupied and 10 will be stored in that container, and data is the name of the space. Fine. Now I have assigned some value, data. That means I changed the value. That means by adding some value. First, let me prove it here for your better understanding. Let data is equal to 10. Okay, so now I am trying to add 20 to the data. And finally, I am going to print the data. So what is the expected output here? All of you observe carefully. I have taken a variable data and assigned value 20. And now data plus 20. What does it mean? So to the value of data, I have assigned it 20, and we're expecting the data value is equal to 30. That is the expectation. But let us see the reality. Save it. And now we can see the value of data is still 10. It is not 30. But we expect that data contains 10, 20 is added. So the sum would be 30. But when we print the data, still it is 10, but not 30. Why it is like this? So this is not only for the numbers. If you take strings, booleans, for every primitive, the same kind of thing happened. That means once I declare some variable, then it is not possible to modify the value of that variable. So hence it is the proof. But let us understand, so what happened here? So let's go to the visual representation. So here, if I write data plus 10, then what happened means a separate memory space will be created, because the memory space which we created cannot be modified. Here, once the data space is created and value 10 is stored, it cannot be modified because primitives are immutable. That means they are not possible to modify. That's why instead of changing the value to 20, so here, if I add 10 in this case, so 10 plus 10, 20, a separate memory space will be allocated. So a new memory is created instead of modifying the existing memory. But the problem is this new memory have no variable name, because the data is the variable for this memory. That's why if I print data, still it is giving 10 only to us. But the new variable has created in memory. But you cannot access this because no variable name is given here. That's why you cannot access this. Okay, so now what I want to do is, let me write data is equal to data plus 10. When I write data is equal to data plus 10, what happened here? Now the data is 10 and 20. So total the value is 30. This total value will be assigned to the same variable. So when the data is assigned to the same variable, now you can see the output is 30. That means here you can see, so after assigning the same to the either same variable or the different variable, what happened means now this new variable start referring to the new data, new memory here. That means the old memory can be removed. Once you observe this example, after creating a primitive value here like 10, it has not modified at all. Every time when we make some changes, a new memory is creating instead of modifying. So if I write data is equal to 10, so the memory space is created and 10 stored into that. Data is the name of the variable. If I write data plus 10, then so data already contains value 10 and I'm adding one more 10. So the total is 20, but I have not assigned this result to any variable. So the value 20 will be stored in the memory, but unfortunately we have not assigned this result to any variable. So this memory has no variable, so we cannot access. Now if I print the value of data, still it gives 10 only, but not 20. Okay, now I want to assign that to any variable. Either I can use the same variable or different variable. For example, if I use the same variable here, then the data start pointing the new data, new memory space here. That means the data variable up to now it is acts as the name of this container. So when I write data is equal to data plus 10, so now the same variable so will act as the name of this memory, and this memory will be cleaned by the garbage collector. So automatically it will be removed. So with this example, we can understand primitives are immutable. So this knowledge is really essential. Up to now, we worked with many primitives, but we don't know what is happening behind the scenes. Remember, if you do not understand the internal operations in depth, we cannot get command on the technology, whatever the language we are learning. Okay, so this knowledge is very much essential. So when we are developing the real world applications, then this knowledge will help us in many situations to write very better logic and also to get rid of many errors in our application. Sometimes if you do not have this knowledge, so if you don't know this information and if you feel so the data is getting modified, if you go with some wrong assumptions in that way, if you get some error like this, for example, let's take the same story. And in interview, if someone asks you what is the output, definitely you will give the value as 30, and unfortunately it is giving 10, then he may ask you to explain the reason. How can you explain this? It's not possible to explain because it is giving 10 only, but you're expecting 30. At that time, you should know the reason. If you do not aware of the immutable nature of the primitives, how can you explain the reason here? It is totally not possible. And also, even if I write something like this, the original memory space is not modified. So once you look at this example, the original memory space 10 is same existed. Its value has not become 30 or 20. Instead of that, this variable name acts as variable name for this memory. And this is nameless and it will be removed by the garbage collector later from this memory itself. This is called as immutable nature of primitives. Okay, that is fine. Then what about non-primitives? Non-primitive means object. Are they mutable or immutable? So non-primitives are mutable. That means when you make changes, so the changes occurred on the original object. That's why it is mutable. So when you create an object, it allows you to make as many changes as you can. So now let us see this person object here. And we know the person is the reference variable to this object. All references will be stored in the stack memory and objects will be stored in the heap memory. I already explained you how objects will be stored. Of course, here also this data is primitive will be stored in the stack memory. So here this is all related to the stack memory, but I have not taken stack because we have not used any objects here to represent heap. Whenever we use any primitives, all will be stored in the stack memory. So these all memory locations belongs to stack memory. But here we have taken an object. That's why I have mentioned stack and heap also. The reference is stored in the stack and actual object is stored in the heap. Fine. Now I want to make some change to this. Making change in the sense I want to change the name. Previously, the name of this person is Ravi and I want to change this to Vinay. So then if I write person.name is equal to, when we know how to do this update operation on object, then it will modify the original object. See, the previous object contains name as Ravi, but now the same object's name is changed to Vinay because non-primitives are mutable. So it won't create any new memory space if you make changes just like primitives. So once you create an object, so directly the changes are made to the object in this way. So let me prove it here with an example. Let us take an object, let person is equal to. So I have taken name is Ravi and age is 20. Okay. So now let me print the person object before modification. See LG. So person before change. Okay. Let me print that object like person. Now let me make some changes here. That means person dot name is equal to Vinay I have taken, and let me print that object after change. Now you are going to see a surprising result here. Person after change. Save it. Now you can see, so the before change, so the value is Ravi, and after change it is Vinay. That means the same reference variable we have used. So now previously it referred to this object. Now a new object is not created here. So the same existing object, but the value is modified in this way. So that is the way we can understand the mutability and immutability of these primitives as well as non-primitives. Okay. So any questions regarding primitive and non-primitive nature of primitives? I mean, mutable and immutable nature of primitives and non-primitives in JavaScript. Not only in JavaScript, guys, in C++ and in Java also, primitives are immutable. It's good to hear. Now let's go for the next topic. Actually, that is very simple topic, but it's very important to understand. The next simple topic that I'm going to teach you is template literals. It is also a simple topic. So in today, so only creating copy of primitives and objects is a little bit big concept, but all the remaining all very, very simple and less time taking concepts. Okay, so let us see template literals. What is this? So template literal is also very easy to understand. For example, I have some data, let A is equal to 10 here. I want to print the value to the console. What I can do here, I can write A is comma A. That means I want to print with some description. Remember, when you are printing the variable, it is really required to or advised or recommended to add some description. For example, without a description, if you print only the value, so that is fine, okay. But if you have some 500 lines of code and you have printed some good number of variables to check the value of that variable, so if you do not provide any proper description, you can see only the value. Then again you have to check which console statement it is. So is it, then you have to come to this part, and here you need to verify the line number. So it is really time taking process. Instead of that, if you add some proper description, A is in this way, now it will give you a complete meaningful statement like A is 10, so that you can easily understand this particular output with respect to the description. So it is always good to add some description when we are checking the value of some variable. Okay, so now I have one more variable here. Let B is equal to 20. And I want to print the value of B also in single statement. So how can I do that? So now I have to keep one more comma here, and I need to write B is again, keep comma the B. Now save it. Now you can see the complete statement as A is 10, and here I can write and save it. A is 10 and B is 20. So when you look at this, in this A is a string and B is a string, whereas A and B are names of variables. So the names of variables should keep outside of the quotes, whereas string should be placed inside of the quotes. And to concatenate them, we are going to use the comma operator. Because of comma operator, all are joined to form a single string in this way. But when you look at this statement, it is little bit clumsy. And for example, if I have one more variable, let's see, is equal to 30. Okay, now if you want to write that, A is 10, B is, and here I can write and C is, okay, and let me print the value of C. Save this. Now statement is clear. A is 10, B is 20, and C is 30. But here we need to take care of opening quotes, closing quotes, and comma. For example, if you mistakenly place something like this, okay, so then if I save it, it will give the formatting error. That means missing after statement is something. The reason is I have to place this comma operator outside of the quotes, but mistakenly I have placed it inside of this. So these are some common errors occurred because this statement contains so many comma operators, quotes, opening, closing, etc., etc. To overcome these kind of problems, we can use template literals. By using template literal, you can make it as very simple statement. And let me show you how can I do that. First, let me write the print the value of A. Now I want to print only the value of A is 10. What should I do is, first I need to write backtick operator here. Backtick operator means, see here, you can see the keyboard. So in the keyboard, we can see this key represents single quotes and double quotes. Okay, this is double quote and single quote, both are existed on the same key on the keyboard. But when you come to this part here, this key I'm highlighting here contains a it's a negation operator, and below that you can see which is almost very similar to single quotes but with some inclination, a slant quote like it is appearing. So it is called as backtick operator. This is called a single quote. So don't get confused in these two. Single quote will appear as a straight line, whereas backtick will appear like a line with single quote, almost like a single quote with some inclination. So you can check this operator in your keyboard. So most of the keyboards, I think, contains these two, negation operator as well as the backtick. So this backtick operator we have to use to write the template literal. So now what should I do? So here first I need to write the backtick operator. See here now, this is opening backtick, closing backtick. And here I write A is, and now we no need to use any comma, etc. To print the value of some variable, we use the representation dollar braces. Within the dollar braces, you can write the variable. So now A is will be printed as it isly. And if you want to print the value of some variable, we need to write the expression dollar braces. So within the dollar braces, we can write this A. So now let me save. You can see it is printing A is 10. Let us compare these two. So it is quite easy. Now let me continue, and after that I want to write B is, again I need to write dollar braces, the value of B, and finally, and C is, so dollar braces C. Save it, you got exactly the same statement. But compare these two, it is like a plain English statement. No commas are there, no opening quotes, no closing quotes, etc. It is like a very simple English statement. But when you compare the statement, it involved with many comma operators, etc. Here, no comma operators. This entire statement is placed within the backticks, opening backtick and closing backtick. That is really important. In place of this backtick, if you mistakenly use this single quotes, let us see the output. For example, instead of using backtick, mistakenly I have used the single quotes. Then output is going to print dollar brace A only. It won't replace the actual value of that variable. Only backtick operator aware of that. That's why here you should use only backtick operator to write the template literals. Now it would be very easy to you to deal with. That's why in many situations, this template literal approach would be very much useful to us. So it is a simple concept. Now the template literal is completed, and it is easy to write even very lengthy expressions with the help of these template literals. The things that you need to take care is, instead of single quotes or double quotes, you need to keep everything within the backtick. That is the first one. Second care is, when you want to print the value of the variable, use dollar braces expression, and within the braces keep that value. Then when it is printing, so this entire expression will be replaced with value of A, it will be with value of B, and this with value of C, and you can see the result here, and it is very plain. When you compare these two, you can feel more convenient to write these kind of template literal than these clumsy kind of statement. So that is about template literals. Any questions on template literals? Let's go to the next topic. the template trailer. These two are simple concepts, they are completed. The next important topic is creating copies for primitives as well as objects, that is non-primitives. In our applications, in many situations, we need to create copies for the existing data. So many situations demands us to create copies instead of working on the original content. So let us see how to create primitives. How to create copy of primitives as well as objects with some examples. So now let us start creating copy for the primitives. For example, if I have taken let a is equal to 10 and I want to create copy of this, create copy of a. So b is equal to a. Now I can write let b is equal to a. If I write let b is equal to a, so what does it mean? So the b is going to contain the copy of value a. Instead of writing 10 here, I am writing a. The difference is, if I change the value of a from 10 to 20, the b will get 20. If I change this to 30, b will get 30. That's why here I have not assigned 10. Now in this place, the b should contain the value exactly belongs to the same as a. So it is quite easy to create copies to the primitives, hence it is completed. Just with assignment, we can create copies. Now you can print the value of a here. Let me use backtick. A is, so dollar braces a, okay, next, and b is dollar braces b. Save and see here, a is 10, b is 10. Now I want to check, is it real copy or not? So copy means, for example, guys, so if you have some document with you, your marks list, if you get a Xerox copy, then these are two different copies. Okay, so original mark list is there and you get copy in a separate paper. For example, if you write something on the copy, so the original won't get affected because these two are two different papers. That's why here, now I want to make some change to b and check the b is alone itself modified or a also. Or if I want to change the value of a, let me write a is equal to here. Let me print this before modification. Okay, now I am getting the value. Change a here. A is equal to a plus 300, for example. And now I want to print this statement again. Now you can see a is 10, b is 10. Later a value is modified, but p is still 10. The reason is we have assigned or we created the copy before modification. That's why later if the value of a is modified, still b is going to contain the previous one only, because so here we have created the copy. So if I make some changes to the a, so after assigning, it is not affecting this one. So creating copy for the primitives is very simple, just with assignment that will be happened. So let us see the visual representation of creating these copies. Okay, so now I have taken let data is equal to 10, and in the stack, the container will be created with the name data and value is 10. If I create one more variable, data copy is equal to a, means we have assigned the value of a to this one. Then a separate memory space has created here. So data representing a different memory location, data copy variable represents another memory location, but the value it is using the same from here. So the same value has stored again here because copy has created successfully. So creating copy is such a simple for primitives, just with assignment we can do that, and these two are two different memory locations. That means I said that, for example, if it is your original mark list and if it is your Xerox copy, if you make some changes to the Xerox copy, so it won't affect the original because these two are two separate papers. Fine. Then what about copy of non-primitives? That means object. Is it possible to create an object also in this way? First, let me check and later we can take care of the remaining modifications here. So now what I would like to do is, let me take a person object here. I will take a name Ravi. Okay. And I can give the age 20, for example. Now this object is ready. Now I want to create copy of person. So let me try with the assignment operation just like primitives and check will it create a copy or not? Let person copy. I'm taking the variable name meaningfully represents copy of this person. So then let me assign the value like this. Now let us see the copy is created or not. So first of all, I want to print these two. CLG, let me print person here, or I can write. So let me use the backtick operator. So person is dollar braces person, save it. So now when you are printing an object, then backtick is not useful. Okay, so here I'm printing an object in this place. When you use backtick template literal to print an object, it won't print object. Instead of that, it will give you this kind of representation. So object of type capital object. You may not understand what is this meaning. That's why these template literals are useful when you are working with primitives only. That's why here I want to use the normal approach only. Person is save it. Now the person object is ready. Now I want to print the person copy also. Person copy is, let's save it. Okay, now we are feeling that a copy is created. But now we need to check, is it a copy really or not? If it is really a copy, if I make some changes to the person after assignment, the previous object should not be modified. That means now I want to make some change here. Change person name or person age, for example, person name to that person dot name is equal to, so let me change to Kiran. So now let us see if really these two occupies two different memory locations. If these two occupy two different memory locations, after creating the copy, if I make some changes to this object, so it won't affect the other one because these two are two different memory locations. Now I have not modified person copy, still it contains name Ravi, age 20. Now I have changed the name for the original object but not for the copy. After this change, let me print to the console and verify what happened here. See guys, actually I have modified the person object, but when you look at the output, not only the person object, person copy is also modified. But actually I have not changed the person copy. Where I created person copy here. When I create this copy, the name is Ravi. But when I change that name after creating the copy with this line, the copy is created, and we are assuming just like the primitives, it also occupies the separate memory location. With that confidence, just I changed the value of the original object. But unfortunately, when you look at the output here, if you make change to the old object here, original object, so the copy is also getting modified. That means this is not the right way to create copy. So assignment operator to create copy is useful only for the primitives. So previously we created copy for the primitive, so it worked. But if I use the same assignment operator to create copy for the object, it is not working. That means it is not creating a copy literally. How can we prove it? How did we know the copy is not created? If really a copy is created, if I make some changes to the first object, why the second object modifying here? It should not modify. The copy should have the Ravi only person object should be changed to Kiran. But here, if I make some change to person, copy is also changed automatically. So with this proof, we can easily identify a real copy is not created. Now we need to have the visual representation. Without having visual representation, we cannot understand exactly what happened here. That's why I created the diagrams to give you the visual understanding how the things are happening in memory. So let me explain you can easily understand. Okay, let us see here. I have taken some object called data here. This object contains name Elise, age 23. And I created copy by using assignment operator. Then what happened means, so this data is not name of object. I said that if I come to these primitives, this data is name of this one, name of 10. But when you come to the objects, objects can have only references, but not the names. Now data is the reference of this object. If I write data copy is equal to data, then this reference will be assigned to this one, not the actual object. But when you do for the primitive, the actual value is assigned to this variable. That's why here it also gets the value 10. But when you come to this non-primitives, that is object, if I use the same assignment operator, the entire object won't be stored because data is a reference variable. So the reference is copied here. Reference is copied means, so two references created for the same object. Previously data is the reference variable for this object. Now we have copied the reference to some other variable. Then that other variable also act as a reference to the same object. So final picture under the hood in memory. So two reference variables are created for the same object. Now, if I make change by using data or data copy, finally this same object is getting modified. This is the reason why I make the change to this person and I'm getting the change in copy also, because this person copy is not a separate copy object. It is a new reference variable for the same object we have created. That's why if I change this, so the other reference referring to the same object. So when the other reference is referring to the same object, so now if I write data.name to Kiran here, for example, then data.copy.name is also Kiran, because no two memory spaces are created, only one memory space, but two references are created. That's why, so it is not possible to create objects, copy to the objects by using assignment, but it is possible for primitives. Very important. So for the primitives, if you want to create copy, just you can use the assignment operation, but it won't work out for the objects. Still, if you try with the assignment operator, a new copy won't be created. Instead of that, a new reference variable will be created because references are copied, not the objects here. Okay, then how to get rid of this problem? Definitely, in our application development, in many situations, we need to create copies of the objects. Many situations, especially in the React programming, in many cases, we need to create objects, copies to the objects. And this approach is totally wrong. If you do not aware of this approach, then you feel, yes, it is also creating a separate copy for the object, and finally your program won't work. Then you may not understand exactly what is happening. Everything is fine, no error is appearing, but output is incorrect. How can you understand the situation? You need to spend a lot of time to Google for the reason, and also you need to contact many developers. So much of time wasting. Okay, so that's why here this knowledge is really essential. Okay, final conclusion is, by using assignment operation, we can create copies for the primitives, but not for the non-primitives. If we still try to create copies by using assignment, object copy won't be created, reference copy will be created. That means one more reference creates and both references are referring to the same object. Hence it is clear. But now we need a solution. No, I don't want to create one more reference. What is the use of two references for the same object? I want a separate memory for this object. New copy has to be created. How can I do that? So for that purpose, actually, three approaches are there. So I will teach you first two approaches, and third approach I will teach you later. Because to understand the third approach, we should aware of JSON. JSON is not discussed yet, so let me work with these two. The first approach is, on the object, it is the root constructor, contains a static method called assign. So I already explained you how to call the static methods. So on the constructor or on the class name, we have to call the static methods. If it is the instance method, we need to call it as the instance. So assign is the method which is static in the root constructor. So if we want to call this assign static method, we have to write the name of root constructor, that is object with capital O dot assign. And it take two arguments. The first one is the target object and the second one is source object. So now the source will be copied into the target. Hence it creates the new copy and returns that. Let me try with this approach and see will it work out or not. So this is not the right approach. Let me comment this. Now I'm trying to do let person copy is equal to object. Remember, it is capital O root constructor dot, there is a method called assign. So now you want to know what is the syntax of this SN. Keep cursor on it. It will give you the complete. The first one is the target. Second one is the source. So here the target is a new object, so that I have taken an empty object here, and the source is person. That means it has to create a target object exactly with the same properties of this person. Now a copy is created, but we should not believe it immediately. So a copy is created. We have to verify. Now let me save this. Yes, now it is working. So before modification, person name is Ravi, copy name is Ravi. But after creating the copy, if I make some change to the person, see here only person object affected, and the copy is still contains the value Ravi. What happened here? So now what happened means an object is created here with a separate memory location. Compare these two, you can find the difference. For the same object, two references are created with assignment operation. But if I use this method, so no new reference is created. Instead of that, a separate object is created with same values of this particular one, that is copy, and this reference variable is referring to this one. So it is a separate memory location. It is in a separate memory location. If I make changes here, it won't affect this one. If I make changes here, it won't affect this one, because these two are two different purposes, just like we have taken the marks list and its Xerox copy example. So it is one of the use cases to create copies for this one. And so in ES6, they have introduced very simple syntax. Instead of calling object.assign method, another simple approach they have given, that is, you're going to surprise if I write that example. Let person copy is equal to. So you need to write the pair of braces, and they have given a spread operator. You no need to call object.assign, etc., etc. You need to use the spread operator. Spread operator means take the pair of braces and use 3 dots. You should use only 3 dots. That 3 dot operator is called as the spread operator. The spread operator is used to create. So why it is called as the spread operator means it spreads the existing object. Now you can write person here. So what does it mean? So within this pair of braces, if I use spread operator and object name, then this spread operator simply spreads the entire person object here. This person object contains name and age, so both will spread here. And now the new object is created. See here. So only change is made to the person object, but not for the copy, because still we have created a copy. Now which is simple in these two? ES6 feature is simple. So ES6 has given extraordinary features to simplify the developer's life. So before ES6, so we need to write this syntax. Of course, this is also simple, but when we compare with this syntax, it is quite easy. We no need to call object.assign, and the first one is the source one, second one is target. No need to go with such complexities. Just spread it, automatically the copy is created. This is the second approach. So now you can use any one of these two to create copies for the objects. Don't use this approach, it is incorrect. Either you can use object.assign method, or you can use the spread syntax or spread operator to create copies for the objects. And one more third approach is there, that is by using JSON. I will teach you very soon, because mostly in the next session we are going to discuss about JSON. It is a special type actually. Then I will introduce that approach also. Every time when you create the copy, you need to test it by modifying one of them and check the other one is getting affected or not. If it is not really getting affected, a separate copy is created. If it is modified along with the other, that means actual copy is not created. So a extra reference is created for the same object. Hence, creating copies for primitives and non-primitives is completed. Ask me if you have any questions on this. The way of creating copies for primitives and non-primitives is also completed, and I have given the visual presentation of creating copies for primitives as well as for non-primitives also. Cool. The next topic, of course, before going to the next topic, let me create copy for an array also. Okay, so now we have seen the way to create object, to create copy for an object. Now let me create copy for an array by using the same spread syntax very easily. So here, let's take an array here with the values 10, 20, 30. Simple array I have taken. Okay, I want to create a copy. Let arr copy is equal to, it's quite simple. What should I do now? Now it is an array, so that I have to take the pair of brackets, and inside of that I have to write the spread operator, 3 dots. It is not 2 or 4 dots. It is exactly 3 dots, and write the name. That's it, guys. The copy is created. So now you can verify the copies here. Okay, CLG ARR. Next, and copy ARR is comma copy ARR. Save this. Okay, ARR copy. It's ARR copy. Yeah. Now you can see array is there and its copy is created, but we should not believe immediately a copy is created. I want to make changes. So how can I make changes to an array? Let me add a new element to this existing original array and see the copy is getting affected or not. Add new element to array. How can I do that? Add dot push 120, for example. Now it will push this value as the last value for this array. Now I want to print this one again, and you can see the difference. Now you can see after modifying the original array, so only the original array value is, I mean, the new element is added to the original array, but still the copy has 3 values only. That means a copy has created successfully. So now to create copy for either object or array, we can use the spread syntax. So to create copy for an object, so within the pair of braces that represents an object, we should use spread operator and the object name. In the same way, to create copy for an array, so we can use the array representation, that is square brackets, and then the same story, spread operator and the name of the array. Hence, creating copy for object as well as array is completed and verified successfully. Okay. So now let us go for the next topic, destructuring. So the next destructuring REST parameters, these two are also ES6 features, very simple and very useful, especially in our React.js. The next concept is destructuring. So what is the meaning of destructuring, guys? So destructuring in the sense, so don't consider that as destructing. Destructing is different. Okay, destructing is different, but here I am talking about destructuring. What does it mean? Destructuring means it is opposite to structuring. Structuring means packing. Destructuring means unpacking. So let me write here. Destructuring means it is nothing but unpacking. So what should we generally what we need to unpack? Packs we need to unpack. What are packs? Either array or object. These two are used to pack the data. When it is packed, we can unpack. Of course, without using destructuring also, we could able to unpack them. So for example, if I have taken an array here, some array I have taken with the values 10, 20, 30. This is a pack and I want to unpack. So before learning about the destructuring, how did we unpack this? So we unpack by using some variables like let a is equal to ARR of 0 and let b is equal to ARR of 1 and let c is equal to ARR of 2. So like that I have unpacked, or else I can take a loop and iterate this. So that's your choice. Total unpacking is completed. And now we can use the individual values A, B, C in our my application. This is unpacking which we did. Now in ES6, they have given a simple representation to destructure or unpack an array. How can we do that? Unpack using destructuring. See the syntax here. So now we need to write the pair of brackets. Within that, you can write the names of variables, whatever you want. For example, I want to use P, Q, R because I have used ABC already here. P, Q, R is equal to ARR. That's it, guys. Simple, it's over. Actually, after let we write only the name of one variable till now. But here after the let keyword, we have taken an array of variables. So we didn't write this kind of syntax yet, because every time after either let keyword or constant keyword, we have taken name of one variable. But this destructure syntax helps us to take an array of variables at the declaration. And now I have assigned this array to this one. Then what happened means the first element is assigned to P, second element is unpacked to Q, and third element is unpacked to R. If you have any doubt, you can just print the values of P, Q, R. Save it. You can see 10, 20, 30. Unpacking completed. Instead of writing such a lengthy syntax, you can make it really simple just in one line of code. For example, with this case, you may not feel much difference. Sir, it is also simple. And what is the main difference between these two? Of course, as of now, you may feel it as a simple feature, but once we enter into the React.js, we are going to use almost in every component, the destructuring is required. So then I will write some examples without destructuring and with destructuring. Then you can see the practical differences between these two. You start enjoying unpacking using destructuring without writing the manual approach of in this way. But this destructuring has some other benefits also. For example, I don't want 3 elements. I want first one and last one. Then simply I no need to provide the second variable here. See here, first variable provided and the second variable I have not provided. I made it empty, and the third variable. Now the first element is unpacked to B and the third element is unpacked to R. Now you can see 1030. For example, I need only the last element, but not the first one or second one. The third element I need. So I can make empty here for the first variable, and second variable is also empty, and I provided only the third variable. Once you save it, I could able to get it. So like that, you can get whatever you want. Okay, so here I can get A comma B comma, sorry, P comma Q comma R again, and I can print the values. Like that, you can use whatever the variables that you need. Finally, unpacking is completed, but it contains some limitations. What is the limitation, sir? The array length is 3. That's why you have provided 3 variables. For example, if array length is some 50 elements, let's assume this array has 50 elements. At that time, if you want to use this syntax, you have to write 50 variable names here. It is very difficult. That's why this destructuring will be useful only when the array size is small. If array size is larger, then definitely this destructuring is not useful. You can go with the normal approach only, either accessing individual elements in this way or to iterate this entire array. But if the size of array is small, then definitely this destructuring will be useful. In our real world applications, many arrays that we are going to work, their size is small. So in those situations, we are going to use this unpacking mechanism with the support of destructuring. In the destructuring, after the let keyword or constant keyword, we are going to provide an array of variables. Instead of providing single variable during unpacking mechanism using destructure, we provide array of variables. Hence, destructuring or unpacking an array is completed. Let us see how to destructure an object also. So let us take an object here. Let student. Okay, student. Let me take the name of the student. Typos. And course of the student. Okay, and fee of the student, or branch, for example, branch of the student is civil, for example. Now this object is ready. Now I want to unpack this object. If you want to unpack this object normally, in normal approach, how can we do that? So we can write, of course, we can write let student name is equal to student dot name. So in the same way, for student course, we can write student dot course, student dot branch. That means these properties can be accessible with the reference of the object student.name, student.course, student.branch. This is the way to unpack, or you can use for in loop. By using for in loop, you can unpack each and every properties of this object. So for example, if the array length is small, this length in the sense if it has a limited number of properties. So in our real world programming, we need to work with the large objects and small objects also. If the object size is small, then instead of going with this approach, you can simply destructure by using unpack using destructure. So now let me unpack this using destructure syntax. See how it looks like. So to unpack an array, we provided an array of variables. To unpack an object, we need to provide an object of variables. So then variable names should be exactly same as the properties. So to unpack an array, you can take any variable names here. I have taken PQR, MNO, or ABC, XYZ, anything. So the first value will be assigned to this first variable, second element to the second variable, like that. Any variable name you can take when you are destructuring an array. But when you are destructuring an object, you should be careful. Okay. So the particular variable names that you are providing here should be exactly same as properties of the object. So name, the next one is course, and the third one is branch is equal to write the object. That's it, guys. Unpacking is completed. Here it is array of variables, and here it is an object of properties. Now the name property assigned to this name variable, course property assigned to this course variable, branch property assigned to this branch variable. So if you have any doubt, now you don't need to write student.name, just you can write name. You can see the Kiran. Next one is, you can, if you want to get the course, up to now we have used student.course like, but now you can use just course, you can get it. How we are using only the variables without dot operator, because we have unpacked them into these variables. So now, sir, if I use a different variable name, what happened? Let me write X here. That means I am unpacking the name property to the X variable. Let me try to print X and see what happened. Save it, you get undefined. That means if you do not use the variable names same as property names, so unpacking won't be done. That's why X is not receiving the first property here. So that is the important rule here. And when you come to the array, there is no such rule. So you can use any variables when you are unpacking, but for the objects, when you are unpacking, so you have to provide the variable names same as properties of the object. And one more syntax difference is, to unpack an array, we provide an array of variables. To unpack an object, we provide an object of variables, not an array. Hence it is completed. See guys, sometimes when you use some variables, you will get a strike on the variable name like this. For example, if I use name, on the name you get something like this. So what is the reason? To find the reason, just keep cursor on it. It will give you, so and deprecated. Name is deprecated. The declaration was marked as deprecated here. So it is suggesting us, hey, don't use the name as name of some variable. So if I am using it, still it is working, but it is deprecated. Deprecated in the sense it is not recommended to use such variable names. So in future, it may not work if they make some changes to the actual library. So such kind of things will get strike over the line this, but it is not an error, still it works, but those variable names are deprecated. So name is deprecated, that's why you are getting these kind of representation, but still it works, it's not an error. But it is better to avoid such kind of deprecated variable names in our application. So the destructuring is completed. Any questions on this? So the next topic I'm going to teach you is REST parameters. What is REST parameter? Yes, it is also simple concept. So it is also useful in some situations, not in every situation. In some situations, it would be really useful to us. So let me create one more program to demonstrate this REST parameter. First parameter means definitely function should be there. Without function, no parameters are existed. So let me take a function, either it is function declaration or function expression, whatever it can be. I'm using function declaration here. This is the function. And here I am calling the function. So to call the function, this is the approach. If it is a parameterized function, we should pass arguments at the time of calling. If it is non-parameterized function, we no need to pass any arguments. Now we want to check is this function is called or not. I can write a confirmation statement like, now we can see test is called. Yes, that is fine. So now it requires one variable, for example, to perform some business logic here. Okay, so now I provided one parameter. So now I want to print the value of a also. A is, let me print a. So now this function has one parameter. At the time of calling that, so we should pass one value. So now if I pass one argument, now we can see test is called a is 10. Excellent. For example, if I call that function in this way, so now I'm calling a parameterized function without passing argument. So if you write such kind of program in C, C++ or Java, you will get the compile time error. It won't go for execution. During compile time itself, it will generate the error. So the error is, these parameters and arguments are not matched. Mismatching between parameters and arguments, because when it is expecting one argument, so the calling function is not passing it. So it is mismatching. It leads to compile time error. But when you come to the JavaScript, it is not an error. See, I have saved this program. Now I have not got any error message here. Test is called and a is undefined. That means if you do not supply any value, any argument, by default, the variables contains undefined. I already explained you in the very first session itself. Every variable by default have the value undefined. If you assign a value, then undefined is replaced with that. For example, if I pass 10 here, by default a contains undefined. Now this 10 replaces the undefined. Now a is 10. If I do not supply the value, so it won't show any error. Instead of error, so it prints a value as undefined. Remember, so this is the special feature of JavaScript. Okay, next. If I send two arguments, actually it requires one argument, but I have sent two arguments. Then again in C, C++, Java, it is an error. Again, it is mismatching. Number of parameters is 1, number of arguments are 2. So mismatching, it leads to compile time error. But in JavaScript, it is not an error again. Why? Because so the parameter takes the value which it needs and ignore the remaining values. For example, if I save this, it is working. What happened here? So here it is one parameter. It will take the first argument here and ignore the remaining list. It won't show any error. It won't give any complaint to the developer. Instead of that, it will take whatever it needs and ignore the rest. For example, if I pass in this way, still it is not an error in JavaScript. It is taking only the first value because it is the first parameter and ignores the remaining values without giving any complaint. For example, if I have taken a comma b, then a will take the first argument, parameter b will take the second argument and ignore the remaining values. So these are the special features of JavaScript which are totally different compared with C, C++, Java. Okay, this is fine and clear. In some situations, guys, when we are calling the function, so we don't know how many values we are going to send. In the remaining situations, we know, yes, this function requires 2 parameters and some other function requires 10 parameters, or some functions do not require any parameter. If you are aware of that, at the right time of writing the function, you can provide necessary number of parameters and you can pass those arguments also. It is clear. But in some situations in our application development, we don't know how many arguments we can pass, because we can pass the arguments dynamically in some situations. For example, here, when I am calling the test function, sometimes I need to pass 2 arguments, but sometimes I need to pass 10 arguments. Sometimes I need to pass 20 arguments. Sometimes I need to pass 0 arguments, sometimes 1 argument. So the number of arguments can be decided dynamically, not during the writing of the function itself. How to deal with the situation? Because if I provide 2 parameters here, So it works only if I pass 2 arguments. For example, if I pass 10 arguments here, what happened? Just we have seen it has taken only the first 2 arguments and ignored the remaining. But it should not be ignored. In some situations, all the values that I'm passing at the time of calling should be considered by this function. How can we do that? If you know in advance, yes, it needs 3 parameters, then I can provide 3. If I know in advance it requires some 6 parameters, I can provide. If I know in advance if it requires only 1 parameter, I can do that. But if I want to pass arguments dynamically to a function, those can be changed from time to time. How to deal with the situation? For that purpose, we can use REST parameters instead of using normal parameter. Now it is a normal parameter which can hold only one element, one value, one argument. Now I want to give an extra power to this variable. So what's the power means? It can receive any number of arguments. The single variable which can receive any number of arguments. I want to give such a power to this parameter. How can I do that? I'm going to convert this into the REST parameter. How can I do that? So you need to keep spread operator before it. We have already used this spread operator to create copies. Okay, to create copies for objects and arrays, we use this operator. But if I use this operator before a parameter, we should call it as the REST parameter. In previous use case, we have not applied this operator for the parameter. That is used to create copies. That's why we can call it as the spread operator. But here, if I use the same spread operator before a parameter, then it is called as the REST parameter. Okay, what is the power of REST parameter here? Yes, the power is now it can receive any number of arguments, 0 to any number. Let me show you. First, I'm going to call without passing any argument. Now you can see A is empty array. What happened means this REST parameter receive the values and pack them into an array and give that pack to the function for execution. Such a great work done by this REST parameter. Now you can see this. If I pass 3 values, so if it is a normal parameter, for example, it can consider only 10 and ignores the remaining. But if it is a REST parameter, see here, it has received these 3 values. Not only receiving these 3 individual, it packed them into an array. Actually, I have not passed any array here. These are 3 individual elements, but this REST parameter has received these 3 and packed them into an array, and that array is applied to this one. Now let me pass some more values here: 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So many values I have passed. See here, all are considered by this one, A is. That means this single variable now it is capable of receiving 0 to n number of arguments. So in those situations where we are sending the number of arguments dynamically, we can take the support of this REST parameter. So the REST parameter receives any number of values, that is from 0 to n, and not only receiving them, it can pack them into an array, and that array will be supplied to the function for processing. This is called as REST parameter. One important thing about REST parameter is you should not write anything after the REST parameter. If I write one REST parameter and one normal parameter in this way, it is technically wrong. The reason is the REST parameter is itself capable of receiving any number of arguments. Then the parameter which we write after the REST parameter will never get a chance to receive any value. Even if I pass 100 arguments, 100 will be taken by this one only, the first REST parameter. Then this B will never get chance to receive any argument. That's why if I write like this, it is an error. You can see REST parameter must be last formal parameter. That means after REST parameter, don't write any other. For example, if I write in this way, A comma B. Now let me print B is. Now what happened? Now A is normal parameter, B is REST parameter, and I need to make the REST parameter is always as the last parameter. That means after REST parameter, you should not write any normal parameter. Now what happened here? A is normal parameter, so it receives the first element. The second one is REST, it can receive the rest of the values. Now you can see A is 10, but B receives any number of arguments from there onwards. For example, if I write more values here, Now A is normal parameter which can receive the first argument. The all remaining elements will be arguments can be received by this rest parameter and pack them into an array in this way. This is the story of rest parameter, and in many situations this also useful to us. Any doubts? So today we are learning all simple concepts. Okay, that's why I think you are understanding these concepts without any doubts. That's cool. So the next one is strings. So let us learn the important operations that we can perform on the strings and we can close the session. So first of all, what is a string basically? So string means group of characters. For example, if I write so some string here str is equal to hello. Now it is a string group of characters. You can keep it either in single quotes or double quotes, hence it is a string. And string is also a primitive type so that it is immutable as usually. Okay, that is fine. So how it will organize in computer memory, that is important point here. In computer memory, whenever I write the string, how the JavaScript will consider this string. So it will convert the string as a array of characters. That means internally it converts in this way. So character H, next E, L, L, O. So whenever we have given some string like hello here, for example, this is the string hello, and in computer memory, the string stores as an array in this way. Now let me remove the comment for your better visibility. Every time when you take a string in computer memory, the string stores like array of characters. That is the important point one should aware of. So what is the need of storing this string as an array of characters? So when it is stored in the form of array of characters, we can perform many operations on the string very, very easily. That's why JavaScript take care of the strings in this way. Hope you are clear with this. Every time when you write a string, it is stored in computer memory in this way. This is nothing but array of individual characters. Okay, now if I write hello white space and hello man, for example, I have taken hello man, then it will give white space also. But why? Because in computer white space is also a character. So like that the string will be stored in computer memory. See here, one of the characters is white space. That means it will consider the white space also in the string and provide space for that. It is also a character here. So now this is about string, and string is a primitive type, but when it stores in the memory, it organized in the form of an array like this. Now let us see what are the important operations that we can perform on the string. The first operation is we can use the length property on the string. If you want to find the number of characters, we can use length property, because the length property we used only on the arrays, because it is not possible to find the length of an object. But to find the number of elements of an array, we have used the length property. In the same way here, this string is organized internally as an array. So if you want to check the number of characters, simply on that string, you can call the length property. So now you can see it contains totally 9 characters. 9 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually 8 characters are there, and white space is also included. So total number of characters are 9. So why we are able to use this length property? Because it internally organized as an array of characters. Because of that reason, we can use the length property to find the number of characters of this one. So here I can write number of characters. So number of characters are 9. Like that, let us see some important methods on the string. So slice. It is not splice, guys. It is slice. Slice can be used to create the substring actually. So let us see the syntax here. str.slice. So let us see what is the syntax of the slice. Keep cursor on it. Returns a section of the string. So it will take the first argument as the starting index. Okay. And the last one is end. So now if I write the starting one is 2, 4. So let us see what happened. It returns the new string. I can write new str1 and I would like to print this. New string 1 is, save here. Now it is giving double L. That means it go to the index number 2. So the syntax is slice method take 2 arguments. The first one is the start index. Second one is the last index. So it starts with second index. Second index means 0, 1, 2. It starts with L. 2, 3 up to the last one. That means 2, 4 in the sense 2, 3. It excludes the last index. It includes the first index. It excludes the last index. That means it starts with 2, go for 3 and stops because 4 is the last one. If I write 5 here, it will start with 2, 3, 4 and it will stop there. Now it will give you so double LO because these are the this is the substring which is existed. Like that, if you want to get a substring, we can use the slice method. And if you have any doubt, you can keep cursor on it. Okay, it will give you the complete information. The start is the index of beginning of specified portion of this one. End means the index to end the specified portion of the string object. And finally, it returns a section of the string means substring. Okay, here instead of writing new string 1, I can make it as substring 1 meaningfully so that it would be good. Substring is printed. That is about slice method. Splice is used to insert, delete, or to perform index based operations on an array, and this is not splice, it is slice. Next, substring method is there. It is also used to get the substring with a different approach. So for example, let substring 2 is equal to str.substring. What's the syntax of this? The first one is start index, next one is end index. Returns the substring at the specified location with the string object. The first one start, the 0 based index number, end one is index. So for example, here also let me give 2, 5 and I want to print this substring 2. Save this. It is also going to give the same kind of thing. Now either you can use the slice method or substring so to get a specific portion that you need from here. Both are doing same kind of thing. So the next one is replace all. You can easily understand if you want to replace a character with some other character or string with some other, we can use it. For example, I want to take a string as good morning to all. I have taken some lengthy string here. Now I want to replace all O's or a O with some other character. So now let result 1 is equal to str dot replace. So now you can write what you want to replace. O I want to replace with X, for example. What replace method will do is it will go to the string and identify the first character O and replace with X. That's it. It will replace only the first character. So let me print the result 1 and save it here. Now in the good morning, the first character O is replaced with X because the replace method search for the first occurrence of this character and replace with this. Not only the character, it can replace the string also. For example, I want to replace 2 with, now you can see good morning with all. Of course, it's a meaningless statement, but you can replace either one character or a string with some other string also in this way. Okay, so now, sir, I want to replace all characters of O with X. Then you can use replace all method. Now you can see all O's of this particular string replaced with X. See here, good. Here also morning X, and 2 it is X. Like that, in some situations in our application, we want to replace either first character or all characters or strings even. Then we can use either replace method or replace all. That is also a simple string operation. And 2 uppercase, 2 lowercase. I think explanation is not required about these two. They can be used to convert the given string to either uppercase or to lowercase. The next one is concat. Concat can be used to add a new string to an existing string. For example, let new string is equal to str. Already string is there. Dot, I can write concat to all and all the best. What it will do is it will take the value of the string. Already it contains good morning to all, and concat method will add the string to the end of the string. Now you can see the result here. I can print new str, good morning to all and all the best. Okay, so the concat can be used to perform the concatenation. Remember, the slice method, substring method, replace all method, concat method, all will return the modified string, because string is primitive and it is immutable. That's why it cannot modify the existing object. That's why they are creating the new object and returning that. That's why all these methods will create new string with the performed operation and returns to that one. So in that way, the concat also works. And the last one, of course, the next one is split operation. What is that? A caret. Caret means sometimes we need to find the character at the specific index. So find character at specific index. So then let index or let char is equal to, so string dot, okay, char at, and let me give the value 3. Now I want to know what is the character existed at the index number 3. So then let me print the char. You can see D is the character existed at the index number 3. You can see here 0, 1, 2, 3, D existed here. Like that, sometimes you want to find the character at the specific index. Okay, so sometimes you know the index but not the character. Sometimes you know the character but not the index. Then you can use this method especially to find the character at the specific index. That is about character, char at. The last method is split. This split method very useful in many situations, which can be used to split a multi-line string into an array of words. For example, I have taken let words. I have taken some variable called words, str dot split. So the split method will take the delimiter. Delimiter means with respect to what we need to split. For example, if I have taken this character, I'm asking the split method to split this into multi words. So how can we split it? We need to specify. So actually these words are separated with white space here. Now I can inform this to split it with respect to the white spaces. So I can provide one white space as the argument. That is called as the delimiter. Then the split method will take the string and it will break the string at every white space, and it pack all the things into an array and returns the array. Now, if I look at these things, you can find it has returned total 19 characters, because here I have not provided space. Let me give one space. You can see it has given array of 4 words. If I do not provide space, then it splits for every character. So now total 19 characters are here of length. But I want to split with respect to the white space, so that once it look at the first white space, it breaks it here and make it as the first element, second element, third and fourth. Finally, it returns the length. So now we can use this as a simple example. If someone asks you, write a program to find a number of words in this one. Number of words. You can get number of characters by using length property. If you want to write the number of words here, sometimes people use to write some complex logic. But here it is very easy, words dot length. Number of words is 4. Just by using one line of code, you can get the number of words of this one. Okay, so these are so many such kind of use cases to use. For example, if the string has some other delimiters, whatever the delimiter is existed, you can use it here. With respect to the delimiter, the split method will split that given string into an array of that particular thing. So these are the string operations which we can use frequently in our application development. So these are the topics we discussed on today's session. Okay, all the topics are completed. So except this creating copy for primitives and objects, remaining all are really very simple concepts. That's why you may not feel much difficulty to work with these features, because all are simple features and very useful also. So in the next session, we are going to discuss about some complex operations. Any doubts?